Hey, ADHD Cat, thank you so much for giving me the permission to use your example in my video. Hope that you are safe for whenever you go to Moe's from now on. But again, thank you. On with the video. Hey y'all, what's up? This is Rosie, and I wanted to talk about Elliot Rodger because there are so many of him out there who are still causing harm to people that I thought this needed to be looked at. So ADHD Cat had an encounter with an incel. It wasn't Elliot Rodger, but he was peak incel, and I will put the screen caps of her threads in the video so you can see it for yourself, and you can pause to read it. But he was maybe 60 years old. She went to Moe's, was at a food court, and this guy comes up to her, says good morning, and so she was like good morning back, and she was just happy to be greeted, thinking he was being polite. So she goes over to a table to eat her food, and he comes over and all, what's your name? And she was like, no, And so he gave her the triple flip off and starts going into peak incel behavior, starts yelling at her and says something about Stacy's and Chad's, which that really got my attention, because when looking up information about Elliot Rodger, that was something that came up, was Stacy's and Chad's. And he was all, I know you're alone, I know you're alone, which is creepy, and that sounded like a threat to me. And then the cherry on top was, this is what I get for being nice. Yeah. So incels all feel entitled to a female's attention, and when they don't get it, they become instantly triggered and go off, and they are dangerous. I am so thankful that that's where it ended for her, because it could have been so much worse from what I've been reading. Elliot Rodger was a 22-year-old incel and is king of the incels. And when I say he is king of the incels, most, if not all of them, praise him. They celebrate May 23rd, which was the day of his massacre, as Elliot Rodger Day. And it is so scary, it is insane, and it needs to be studied. So he unalived 6 people and injured 16 others, and then he unalived himself in his car. And he felt entitled to the attention of women and didn't get it. He did a manifesto talking about his life from beginning to almost the end, and then before he did his rampage, he sent it off to people, and he uploaded his very last video to YouTube, and then he took to the streets. He unalived his 2 roommates. He unalived his 2 roommates and their friend, who were all Asian men, and he hated Asians, even though he himself was half Asian. And he hated them, would get into arguments with them. I believe at least one of them had a girlfriend, and he was really jealous about that, because he couldn't understand how these men could get girlfriends and he could not. I read part of his manifesto. I couldn't read it all because it was 137 pages of him basically whining. And because it was 137 pages of him basically whining, I got annoyed by it. So I didn't read the whole thing. But I hate to admit it, it was very well written. And if he had changed some words around and made it like the manifesto of a psycho or something like that, he could have sold it as a book. It was that well written and well thought out. He was on the spectrum, which I'm not saying that that's why he did what he did, because I may be on the spectrum too, and I never did that to anybody. But Elon Musk is on the spectrum, and he has like 157 children by 99 different women. So if Elon Musk could find 99 women, Elliot could have found one. But that's neither here nor there. I'm not going to talk about that. There are so many of these guys out there, and they are all dangerous. So Elliot took to the streets, and he unalived 6 innocent people because he felt like if he couldn't get any woman to give him attention and give him, intercourse, then they shouldn't live, and neither should the guys who are lucky enough to be with them. And he had a type. He wanted to specifically have blonde-haired white women, and he couldn't understand why these women gave themselves, his words, to jocks and athletes and black men. He thought that was disgusting because he was also raised to the cyst, and so because of that, he took to the streets. He wanted to first start off with what he called the hottest sorority on campus, because he did this in Isla Vista, California, at the college that he went to. And he quit college, by the way. He dropped out. But he wanted to go to the hottest sorority and just start unaliving the women in there. But since they wouldn't let him in when he knocked at the door, he left and then saw 3 innocent girls. Oh, God. Sorry. He saw 3 innocent girls and unalived them instead. And I will put this information that I found on Wikipedia because it was the quickest way I could get the information. I will put it in the video so you can pause and read it if you would like. And one of the unfortunate guys who was unalived by him when he actually shot into a store, his dad was in the news a lot. And oh man, I just feel so sorry for them whenever I read about it. But his name was Christopher Ross Michaels Martinez, and he was spotlighted the most out of all of the victims, specifically because of his dad. But these guys should be studied, and they should be interviewed and asked why they did what they did, why they believe the way they believe, because all of them, or almost all of them, like I said, they praise Elliot Rodger. They almost worship him as some kind of a deity. They see him as a martyr for their quote-unquote cause. And they don't see anything wrong with what they did to people. And I am so perplexed by this, why they feel like what they do is right simply because they can't get a girlfriend. From the Ohio Incel Trey Ginkgo, I think that's how you say his name. I'm not worried about getting these guys' names right because they are assholes. And then there's Gabrielle Friel, who unalived some people in Scotland. The Toronto van attacker, Alec Manassian. The Plymouth shooter, Jake Davison. And the most recent guy, the Idaho murderer, Brian Kohberger. They are all incels. They all had the incel ideology. Their brains need to be studied if they are no longer alive. They should be studied if they are, because there is something wrong, there's something in the water, and they all believe the same. And ADHD Cat, I am so thankful that she is still here, and that this crazy asshole at Moe's was just yelling at her, because it could have been so much worse. And I am so thankful for her and for everybody in his presence that it was not worse. These guys are dangerous. They should be studied, and they need to be gotten out of society. I'm serious. They are not. They're not stable. They're not. And so it all started with. It didn't really start with Elliot Rodger, but he is the one that they spotlight the most. So yeah, I think that something should be done about it, and it should be taken more seriously because it is not given enough attention. But so many of these guys hurt people, and women in particular, because they aren't getting the attention of who they want to get the attention of, mainly women, and they feel that because of that, women and the men who are lucky enough to be with them should die. And that is not normal. So anyways, I'm going to stop here, you guys. Thank you for listening. What do you think about this? Because like I said, this should be given some kind of a spotlight. It should be taken more seriously. It needs to be studied, because this is not just fascinating, but it's dangerous. So tell me what you think in the comments. As usual, there are donations links, my PayPal, CASHAPP, and GoFundMe. And if you want to be a part of my tribe, hit that subscribe button no matter what generation you are from. I'll be so glad to have you. I'm gonna go. Love you guys so much. Thank you for listening. Hope to see y'all next time. Bye.